Hey everyone, and welcome back to the AI Tech channel. Today, we're diving into a topic that's as disturbing as it is urgent: AI-generated child sexual abuse material, or CSAM. I know, it's a tough subject, but we need to talk about it. Europol just pulled off a major sting operation, and what they uncovered should send chills down your spine. Are we really ready for a world where AI can be used to create child abuse images? Is this the future of cybercrime? And, perhaps most importantly, can we even stop it? Let's break down the news. Europol, the European Union's law enforcement agency, just announced the results of Operation Cumberland, a large-scale operation targeting the distribution of AI-generated child sexual abuse material. 19 countries across Europe were involved, leading to 25 arrests worldwide. Authorities identified a total of 273 suspects and conducted 33 house searches. The main suspect, a Danish national, was running an online platform where users could access these AI-generated images for a small fee. This is one of the first major cases involving AI-generated CSAM, and it highlights a growing problem that law enforcement agencies are struggling to address. The operation is ongoing, and more arrests are expected in the coming weeks. Think about that for a second. This isn't some isolated incident. This is an ongoing, coordinated effort to exploit children using cutting-edge technology. So, what makes this different from traditional CSAM? The key is AI. These images are created by artificial intelligence, meaning there are no real victims being depicted. But that doesn't make it any less harmful. As Europol's executive director, Catherine de Ball, pointed out, these images are so easily created that individuals with criminal intent can produce them even without substantial technical knowledge. This contributes to the growing prevalence of CSAM, making it harder for investigators to identify offenders or victims. The sheer volume of illegal content is overwhelming law enforcement. AI models are being abused to generate or alter images, creating content that increasingly resembles genuine material. This makes it difficult to distinguish between real and fake, posing significant challenges to authorities. Even when the content is fully artificial, it still contributes to the objectification and sexualization of children. It normalizes abuse and creates a market for this type of content. This is a terrifying prospect, and it demands immediate action. One of the biggest challenges is the lack of specific legislation addressing AI-generated CSAM. Europol acknowledged that Operation Cumberland was exceptionally challenging due to this legal gray area. EU member states are currently discussing a common regulation proposed by the European Commission to tackle this new situation and protect children from being sexually abused and exploited. But laws take time. Technology is moving at warp speed, and legislation is struggling to keep up. This creates a window of opportunity for criminals to exploit AI for their own twisted purposes. We need to ask ourselves, are our laws strong enough to deter this kind of behavior? Are we giving law enforcement the tools they need to fight this digital battle? To understand this threat, let's dive into the technology behind it. The primary tools used to generate these images are generative adversarial networks, or GANs. GANs consist of two neural networks, a generator and a discriminator. The generator creates images, while the discriminator tries to distinguish between real and fake images. They're pitted against each other, constantly improving until the generator can create images that are virtually indistinguishable from real ones. And get this, research highlighted in a paper titled Deepfakes, a new threat to privacy and security, shows how easily these models can be fine-tuned on existing CSAM datasets, making them even more effective at generating realistic and disturbing content. The ease of use and accessibility of these tools is what makes this so dangerous. You don't need to be a coding genius to generate these images. With a few clicks, anyone can create and distribute them. This lowers the barrier to entry for criminals and makes it harder to track them down. Beyond GNs, diffusion models like Stable Diffusion and DALL-E 3 are also being exploited. These models work by gradually adding noise to an image until it becomes pure static, and then learning to reverse the process, generating a new image from the noise. This allows for incredibly detailed and realistic images to be created. The problem is, these models are trained on massive datasets scraped from the internet, and they can inadvertently learn biases and associations that can be exploited for malicious purposes. For example, if a model is trained on images that sexualize children, it may be more likely to generate images of AI-generated children in sexually suggestive poses. We need to be asking serious questions about the ethical implications of training these models on such vast datasets. Who is responsible for ensuring that these models are not being used to create harmful content? Then there's the issue of deepfakes. Deepfakes use AI to swap one person's face onto another person's body in a video or image. This technology can be used to create incredibly realistic fake videos of people saying or doing things they never did. Imagine the damage this could do if used to create deepfake CSAM. Someone could take an existing image of a child and use AI to alter it in a sexually explicit way, creating a fake image that appears to be real. This could have devastating consequences for the child and their family. The ability to manipulate images and videos with such ease is a game changer, and it requires a whole new level of vigilance and technological sophistication from law enforcement. Now, let's talk about the ethical dilemma. On one hand, we have the principle of free speech. Should people be allowed to create and share whatever they want, even if it's offensive or disturbing? On the other hand, we have the need to protect children from exploitation and abuse. Where do we draw the line? Some argue that banning AI-generated CSAM would be a violation of free speech. They believe that people should be allowed to express themselves creatively, even if that expression is controversial. They might argue that as long as there are no real victims involved, there's no harm being done. But others argue that AI-generated CSAM is inherently harmful because it normalizes abuse and contributes to the objectification and sexualization of children. They believe that it creates a market for this type of content and encourages real-world abuse. This is a complex issue with no easy answers, and it requires a careful balancing of competing values. One of the biggest concerns is this slippery slope argument. If we start banning AI-generated CSAM, where do we stop? Will we start banning other types of AI-generated content that are deemed offensive or harmful? Will we start censoring art and literature? Some fear that this could lead to a future where our creative expression is stifled and our freedoms are curtailed. They argue that it's better to tolerate some level of offensive content in order to protect our fundamental rights. But others argue that protecting children is a non-negotiable priority. They believe that the potential harm to children outweighs any potential infringement on free speech. They might argue that we need to be proactive in preventing AI-generated CSAM from becoming widespread, even if it means taking some controversial steps. This debate is far from over, and it will likely continue to evolve as AI technology advances. So what can we do to fight back? One approach is to develop AI tools that can detect and flag AI-generated CSAM. These tools could use machine learning algorithms to identify images that are likely to be fake. Another approach is to develop watermarking technologies that can be used to track the origin of AI-generated images. This would make it easier to identify the creators of CSAM and hold them accountable. Companies like Microsoft and Google are already working on these types of technologies. They're investing heavily in research and development to create tools that can detect and prevent the spread of AI-generated CSAM. But these are just band-aids. We need to address the root causes of this problem. We need to educate people about the dangers of AI-generated CSAM and create a culture that rejects this type of content. We need to hold social media platforms accountable for the content that is shared on their platforms. And we need to work together to create a safer online environment for children. Europol is launching an online campaign to highlight the consequences of using AI for illegal purposes and targeting potential offenders where they are most active: online. The campaign will use online messages to reach buyers of illegal content, as well as other methods such as knock and talks, social media messages, and warning letters. This is a crucial step in raising awareness and deterring potential offenders. By targeting the buyers of this content, Europol is sending a clear message that this type of behavior will not be tolerated. But we need to do more. We need to support organizations that are working to protect children from online abuse. We need to report any suspected cases of CSAM to the authorities. And we need to educate ourselves and our children about the dangers of the internet. Now, let's shift gears and look at a real-world case that highlights the depravity of child abuse. William and Zachary Zulak, a gay couple from Georgia, were sentenced to 100 years in prison each for the horrific rape of their adopted sons. This case is a stark reminder that child abuse knows no boundaries. The Zulaks presented themselves as a picture-perfect family, but behind closed doors, they were subjecting their sons to unspeakable horrors. They forced the boys to have sex with them, filmed the abuse, and even bragged about it to friends. This case is a reminder that we need to be vigilant in protecting children from abuse, regardless of the circumstances. We need to be aware of the signs of abuse and report any suspicions to the authorities. And we need to support victims of abuse and help them heal from their trauma. The Zulak case also highlights the importance of community vigilance. The couple was eventually caught because someone reported their behavior to the authorities. This shows that we all have a role to play in protecting children. If you see something, say something. Don't be afraid to speak up if you suspect that a child is being abused. It could save their life. We need to create a culture where child abuse is not tolerated and where victims feel safe coming forward. This requires a collective effort from parents, teachers, law enforcement, and the community as a whole. We need to work together to create a safer world for children. So what does the future hold? AI technology is only going to become more sophisticated, making it even easier to create realistic and disturbing CSAM. Law enforcement agencies are going to have to adapt and develop new strategies for combating this threat. We need to invest in research and development to create AI tools that can detect and prevent the spread of CSAM. We need to strengthen our laws and regulations to hold offenders accountable. And we need to educate people about the dangers of AI-generated CSAM and create a culture that rejects this type of content. This is a battle we cannot afford to lose. The safety and well-being of our children depend on it. What do you think? Are we doing enough to combat AI-generated CSAM? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates on AI and technology. Thanks for watching, and stay safe out there.